do better. And we can do better because all of us can be heroes like Sir Grantley Herbert Adams, the Right Excellent. And it is not so much that Sir Grantley formed this party, and that after 80 years, this party is still functioning, still ready for action, still ready to serve, and still the best alternative for Barbados. But it is also that Sir Grantley, even though some consider that he came from a position of maybe relative privilege, Sir Grantley made the decision. He made a decision that when he saw what was going on around him, when he saw the oppression, when he saw the many being taken advantage of by the few, he decided that he had to act. And Sir Grantley is our hero. He is the hero of Barbados because he decided that in the face of oppression, somebody had to stand up. And ladies and gentlemen, I'm saying to all of us this evening that as we stand and sit in the land where Sir Grantley rose to prominence, as we sit here surrounded, as it were, by his spirit, all of us can be heroes. All of us can play our part. All of us can stand up and act and be heroes in the saving of Barbados. We are in a situation which is not dissimilar from the situation in which Sir Grantley found himself. When Sir Grantley joined forces with the Right Excellent Clement Payne, it was because he recognized that his people were being taken advantage of. He recognized that his people were suffering. He recognized that somebody had to do something. And he decided that he, in spite of the promise of a great profession and a great future, he would stand with the people. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to say to you that the Barbados Labour Party under Mayor Amor Montley has determined that we will stand with the people. We will stand with people who are being oppressed. We will stand with people who are being destroyed. We will stand with the people. I want to say to you that in this Barbados, better can be done. And I remember a few years ago in this very place, hearing the Barbados Labour Party say to all of Barbados that better can be done, that better must be done, and that better will be done. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to say to you, I want to repeat that. Better can be done. Better will be done. And under the next Barbados Labour Party government, better will be done. Today is time for straight talk. There are some people in this country who, maybe because they've been insulated by their jobs, maybe the fortune that they find themselves in terms of not having to suffer and scrunt like so many other Barbadians, there are some of us in Barbados who have had the good fortune of avoiding a death decree by this Democratic Labour Party, but who have made a decision and have taken a cynical position that the entire political process is broken and that they are not going to get involved. There are some who have taken that position. Now, I respect the rights of everyone to a position. But ladies and gentlemen, in Barbados today, in 2018, there is no one who can take the position, sitting on a fence, that you're not going to get involved in the process, except if you want your child transferred to another school, except if you want to know what is happening with your tax refunds, except, like some business people, if you want to know where your VAT refunds are, except if you've been waiting for 2 years for a decision from the town planning department. This is not the time to be sitting on the fence, to be critical of the process, and only want to be involved when you can get your problem solved, or when you can get something that benefits you. This is a time when people are suffering. This is a time when people are crying out for deliverance. This is a time when every man and woman in Barbados must take a stand. This is a time when all of us must stand for right. Because heroes stand for right. Heroes recognize when the situation calls for people to stand up. Stand up even if it means that you will be ridiculed. Heroes stand for something. And I know our leader says very often, it really only makes sense and it shows your character when you stand for something at a time when it is not convenient to do so. When you make a decision that you're going to act, even if you're going to be ridiculed, even if you believe you're going to suffer. Barbados is crying out today for heroes like Sir Grantley Herbert Adams, our founder, the one who founded this great party. Ladies and gentlemen, we really, really can do better. Cynthia mentioned driving to St. Joseph and going up and down, and she wasn't talking about hills, but not the hills that we know. She was talking about hills within the roads. But Cynthia and Dale and Peter Phillips and myself had to be fighting in Barbados for water. Water. An essential of life. But when I was at school, they told me, and I don't think it has changed, they told me that 70% of my body is water. We need water. And we, in the Barbados Labour Party, have had to fight for water. I am almost embarrassed. Because I stand in the shadow of the Right Excellent Sir Grantley, who fought for the upliftment of people generally. But he had no idea that in 2018, those who followed on from him would have to be fighting for water. But I haven't seen him, but I believe that if he could, he would have resurrected. If he thought that we in 2018 would have to be fighting for water. And I want to tell you that even though the taps have come back on, the residents in Boscobel, very often when they get water, even as recently as last week, the water is brown, undrinkable, unusable. What is the purpose of having water if you can't use the water? But this is the kind of experience that we have to undergo under this Democratic Labour Party government. A government that does not care for people. A government that does not care about people. So you have a lack of water in the north. You have raw sewage in the south. And Mia Motley, our leader, the next Prime Minister of Barbados, said to the Democratic Labour Party government 2 years ago, there is a problem. And as our former leader in this party, Onatha, would say, face it and fix it. But what did this government do? Laugh. And only started to act when manhole covers opened up and raw sewage spilled onto the roads of Barbados. That is when they acted. And do you know that even before Mayor Motley spoke about the sewage problem, that one of their own wrote a memo saying there is a problem, an urgent problem, a problem that needs to be fixed. But we have such a dastardly Democratic Labour Party government that not even their own people they don't listen to. One of their own spoke, and they refused to listen to one of their own. This is a government that needs to be gotten rid of. A government that does not listen to the people is a terrible government. A government that does not listen to their own people is even worse. We have to rid Barbados of this Democratic Labour Party government. They just don't care. But ladies and gentlemen, we can do better. We can do better. We can do better. In September 1984, the great Tom Adams, son of Sir Grantley, spoke at this very school. It was the opening of an extension that was funded by the World Bank. And I want to share with you, those of you who are here, those of you who are following on the internet, I want to share a couple of things that he said. This is what Tom said. This school is yet another symbolic expression of the great importance which the government attaches to education. For we recognize that it is through education that the survival and true success of a free democracy can be assured. Tom went on to note that the move to free education started in 1952 by the Barbados Labour Party. He spoke also to Grantley's foresight in opening schools, including this one, to the poor people of Barbados. Free education in Barbados started with the Barbados Labour Party. And I want all of you to keep trumpeting that truth. Free education in Barbados started with the Barbados Labour Party. And so you should not be surprised when this Democratic Labour Party government, made up of people who would not be in Parliament if they had to pay for their tertiary education, do not be surprised when this government, after ascending to heights where they can take the cream off of everything in Barbados, then proceed to kick down the ladder. Because free education is not theirs. Free education is the legacy of the Barbados Labour Party, this great party of Sir Grantley Herbert Adams. Tom went on to say, without doubt, Grantley Adams was one of those leaders on whose foundation successive governments have built their structure and their policies. You heard what I just said? Tom said Grantley was one of those leaders on whose foundation successive governments have built their structure and policies. And he's talking about education. Now, Grantley and Barrow and Bree and Tom and Sandy were in that line of leaders who saw education as a foundation to be built on. Tom Adams, the great man he was, the visionary he was, never foresaw that a prime minister would emerge in Barbados that would destroy that educational foundation. And that is the only thing that I have against Tom. I've always seen Tom as a visionary. But when I realized that Tom did not realize that somebody like Frendel Stewart would emerge, I began to wonder if Tom was really a visionary. But then I am told that the Prime Minister is really an anachronism. No one really could have predicted that we would be in this situation today. But Tom saw that education would be a foundation, was a foundation. Grantley saw it. Every other leader saw that, except the current leader and his group. I can't use words any stronger than that. Than his group of incompetence, destroying the foundation that built Barbados. He abandoned a policy that has taken away the aspirations of over 4,000 people, young people primarily, every single year. And when you speak to the lecturers at KFL today, they will tell you that compared to 5, 6, 10 years ago, KFL is a ghost town. The aspirations of thousands of young Barbadians has been destroyed, taken away from them. And now in Barbados, as though we were going back to the 1930s, the children of the rich can have their education. They can afford their tertiary education. But the children of ordinary working class Barbadian people are now forced, those children are forced to go out and look for non-existent jobs because the hopes that they had of building a better life for themselves and a better life for their country, those hopes have been dashed due to the policies of an uncaring Democratic Labour Party government. But ladies and gentlemen, better can be done. Better will be done. And the Barbados Labour Party will do better. Chris Sinclair is saying to you that his 10th plan is the plan. But plan number 9 was also the plan. And plan number 8 was the plan. And plan number 7 was the plan. And number 6 was the plan too. And 5 was the plan. And 4 was the plan. And 3 was the plan. And 2 was the plan. And when they won the government in 2008, they already had a plan. And Barbados is no worse than it was when they took over in 2008. Worse than after the recession in 2010-11. But they always have the plan. That is why I don't believe them. That is why you don't believe them. That is why the unions, even though they have to write that we hope this works, don't really believe them either. And the private sector doesn't believe them. The private sector is saying, well, let's wait and see. We hope it works. Let us wait and see. But this government is discredited. Barbados cannot take 5 more years of either Frendel Stewart or Chris Sinclair. We cannot take 5 more years of no growth. We cannot take 5 more years of thousands of people losing their jobs. We cannot take 5 more years of rising cost of living. We cannot take 5 more years of ever-increasing taxation. We cannot take 5 more years of failing services. 5 more years without water, without proper roads. You imagine 5 more years of sewage, raw, on the streets in Barbados? We cannot take 5 more years, ladies and gentlemen. Better can be done. And this Barbados Labour Party will do better. And I want to say to all of you, that surrounded by the spirit of our national hero, Sir Grantley, all of us need to be heroes. All of us need to be heroes. All of us need to stand up. As we see what is happening around us, we need to stand up, and when the time comes, we need to act. We need to act decisively and place our X's where it will matter. And it will matter when we vote for the Barbados Labour Party to get rid of the Democratic Labour Party as the government of this country. I want to touch on something before we finish. I am hearing some people in Barbados talking about entitlements. I am hearing people in Barbados who should know better saying that you, myself, everybody else can't expect government to be providing this and providing that. But ladies and gentlemen, if you pay your taxes, aren't you entitled to decent roads? If you are paying VAT in the supermarkets, aren't you entitled to good health care? If you are paying national social responsibility levy that was introduced and increased so that the hospital can be funded, should you be expected to take in toilet paper and bed sheets when you go for health care? Asking me to pay a tax and then telling me that I shouldn't expect any entitlements is like me building a house and then you telling me that I can't live in it. Or I go into a supermarket and pay for a loaf of bread and the owner tells me, well, you paid for the bread, but I only giving you 2 biscuits. That is not entitlement. If I've paid for it, and if you've paid for it, then it is yours. Don't let anybody tell you any foolishness about entitlement. You deserve what you have paid for. I deserve what I have paid for. And ladies and gentlemen, I want to tell you this evening that we have to do what is necessary. And I want particularly to appeal to those who may be listening out there or watching, who may have voted in the past for the Democratic Labour Party, to recognize that to be a true hero, you have to put aside some of what you've thought in the past and do what is right for Barbados today in 2018. You have to vote for the Barbados Labour Party. And I stand proudly in this hall today as part of a team that includes Dale Marshall, that includes Mayor Amor Motley, that is led by Mayor Motley, to say to all of Barbados and to say to all of you that we will do better. Better can be done. Better will be done. We stand together. And I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, times are tough. Times are hard. But as the good book says, weeping may endure for a night, but joy, ladies and gentlemen, will come in the morning. God bless all of you. Good afternoon.